Well, Republican Congressman Joe Walsh says that Mitt Romney should start bragging about his wealth. Before we get to that clip, I got an interesting set of numbers about that infamous dressage horse about Ann Romney. And I think this is interesting not because, again, there's nothing wrong with being rich. But I think that what's interesting is when we talk about is Mitt Romney in touch with the plight of the average American, when we look at the $77,000 tax credit that Rafalka, the dressage horse owned by the Romney, nets them, $2,000 of which, according to current TV calculations, is what they spend on health care for the horse. The average American family only spends $1,500 a year on health care. So, not about making fun of horses. Horses are perfectly fine. I'm sure Rafalka is a beautiful horse. But is there not a factual case to be made that when you spend more on your horse's health care than what the average American spends on their family's health care in a year, you may not be the best person to really assess what's best for health care in the country?
I personally wouldn't put it quite like that. Because, look, plenty of very wealthy people have been president. You know, some of them very liberal,
sure,
and have shown the ability to understand what's going on in the rest of the country and make policies according to that.
Romney just hasn't shown that understanding.
Look, I don't think you have to be a liberal to have understanding. You know, you could convey an understanding of the plight of others regardless of your ideology.
No question.
But when you say to a student who is struggling to pay for college, and you say, well, why don't you just work your way through? As if the economics of college are the same as they were 50 years ago. They're not. You know, just getting a job, working at a Wendy's is not going to get you through college.
Yeah, I mean, as Tom Hartman was saying the other day, his wife Louise worked her way through college waitressing. That's unheard of right now.
You can't do that now.
No.
And if you say that, that says you don't understand how regular Americans live. Well, that is the bigger problem to me.
And to that end, when Joe Walsh makes the following statement, does he understand how Americans are going to perceive Romney taking this advice? Let's listen.
It's a good thing in this country, Tammy Duckworth, to make money. That is a good thing. I wish Mitt Romney would be proud of that. I wish Romney walked around every day in this campaign and said, you know what? Hold on. You know what? I'm real successful. Hey, you know what, America? I'm a rich guy. In fact, you might call me wealthy. That's me, Mitt Romney. You know what? I worked my butt off to get this way. And you know what? I want you to be rich like me.
Okay, let's unpack this a little bit. Number one, let's say Romney does this and he manages to do it in a way where the focus is that last line, the American dream illusion, you too can be rich like me. That idea that everybody might end up in the top 1%, you just have to kind of work hard enough. That idea has actually caused a lot of people to vote against their own financial interests, right? Supporting lower taxes for people making over $250,000 a year, when statistically speaking, most of those people are never going to be in that tax bracket. But do you think that this could possibly work for Mitt Romney if he embraced the richness and bragged about it more? Or is it just going to show how out of touch he is?
Well, I think Joe Walsh is completely insane. And
former deadbeat dad, Joe Walsh, who lied about his income to avoid paying child support. Yeah.
This guy lucked into Congress, and there's almost no ways he's going to get reelected. So I would not, if I was Mitt Romney, I would not take political advice from him.
Sure.
But there is a grain of sense in what he's talking about, in that we all know at this point Romney is insanely wealthy, and he has already made the decision that his private business experience is what most qualifies him for the presidency.
Sure.
So it's now incumbent upon Romney to connect those two dots and say, this is why my success, my business experience is relevant. And this is where Romney, I think, falls down. He just sort of asserts it as an inherent truth.
Everybody should be able to obviously see why being with Bain Capital would make me a good president.
Right. But what is it about what you did at Bain Capital that is applicable to being president? And
yeah, but that's gotcha journalism. You can't ask that. That's like asking someone what newspapers they read. No, it's a good point. You're right. But we're not hearing that. And I feel like putting aside the idea from Joe Walsh, this idea that Mitt Romney can really leverage his wealth into something that positive, I'm just not convinced even the best spinsters would be able to really make that resonate.
Well, this is the Republican Party and the conservative movement's own fault. They have been saying for years now that we should bow down to the job creators. That's their terminology when talking about taxes. It's not cutting taxes for the wealthy. It's letting job creators have more capital to invest in. This is what's going to make the economy work.
Sure.
So that's their view. So
well,
now
Romney's not one of those guys.
But in their telling, he is.
Right. No. But when you look at American Pad and Paper and the 1,500 jobs that were destroyed after Romney made a ton of money getting loans using the company itself as collateral and then destroying it, you got to do that analysis.
And they're telling that's just part of the creative destruction. That's how it makes the economy work. If a business wasn't doing well, you got to be a big boy, big girl, and cut it off at the knees and invest in something else.
You're shaking out the weakness.
Right. That's their story.
Right.
So here's a guy who is the quintessential example of that narrative, and he is not comfortable actually telling it. Which should say to Republicans, maybe your story is not a very good story to tell to the American people.
Well, it's possible he's just not that good at telling it because he's not even really that good at referring to, the touch-tone keypad sandwich ordering technology of Wawa. So that may also be a compelling story told accurately with the right terms that make you seem like you're in this decade.
The underlying point he was trying to make there is also interesting.
I know it is. Well, that's a whole other layer that unfortunately we can't get into now. But no, we actually talked about that because my argument was even if we actually look at what he was really trying to say, I still don't like it. I still don't like it is the long and short of it. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to Lee Camp and then still a lot more to talk to, including $2.50 gas. Then I'm sure Obama will get the credit, right? Stay tuned.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.